exchanging money is what we're going to look at in this video. We're going to start off by looking at examples like this one here. We're just asked to exchange money with simple questions. Then we're going to move on to more worded questions like this. And then finally, we're going to look at questions where there's multiple conversions involved. And as usual, we're going to wrap up by looking at an exam question. So the way my videos work, I'm going to do the example on the left, which is I do. You are then going to press pause and have a go at the example on the right, which is you do. So in this question, we've been asked how many dollars is £100. We've been given an exchange rate up here. So if I write that exchange rate down, so we've been told that £1 is equal to $1.56. Okay, so how many dollars is £100? So if I look at this question first, if I write that out, we know we have £100 and we've been asked, well, how many dollars is that? Well, the question you ask yourself is, how do you go from here to here? You times it by 100. So you do the same thing here. You times it by 100, and now you know your answer is going to be $156. Okay, so that's your answer to that question there. And with the next one, it's the exact same approach we're going to take. So we're going to say, well, actually, the exchange rate. So write down the exchange rate. £1 is equal to $1.56. And in this case, we've been asked to convert $80. So again, you ask yourself the same question, well, how did I go from here to here? So you're going to do 80 divided by 1.56. So if I write that down here, we're going to do 80 divided by 1.56, and that gives us an answer of 51.282 ... And so essentially, we know that we've multiplied this by 51.28, and we're going to do the exact same thing on here. We're just going to multiply this by 51.28, and we get our answer of in pounds. So that would be £51.28. We can round that to two decimal places. So looking on the right, again, it's the exact same approach. You look at the exchange rate and you look at what you've been asked for. So the exchange rate, again, I hope that you have pressed pause and had a go at this. So this time we've been given euros. So if I look at this one here, we have £72. So of course, to go from here to here, I've multiplied by 72. So I do the same thing here. I multiply this by 72. So if you do 72 times 1.25, that gives you 90. So the answer here is 90 through that first question. Now looking at this second question, again, if I write the exchange rate out, £1 is equal to 1.25. And this time we've been given the euros, which is 65. So again, you ask yourself the question, well, how did I go from here to here? Well, to go from here to here, we just do 65, divide that by 1.25, and that will tell us exactly what we multiplied it by, which is by 52. So I do the same thing here. I multiply that by 52. So the answer here is £52. Okay, so moving on. Again, this is the exact same approach with this question like the last one. So write the exchange rate down. Write down what they've asked for. So this time they've asked for £64. So ask yourself the question, well, how do I go from here to here? So divide the two. So 64 divided by 2. So this has been multiplied by 32 because it's getting bigger. So multiply this side by 32. And you have your answer to the first question, which is $145.92. And that is the answer to that one there. And now looking at this next one, again, exact same approach. Write down the exchange rate they've given you in the question. Let me just use the same color. So I was using blue. So if I write down the exchange rate given in the question, then in the question, I've been told the dollar amount. So how do I go from here to here? So we do 178, divide that by 4.56, and we get, well, we times that by 39.04. We can round that to two decimal places, sorry. And again, on this side, we do the exact same thing and times that by 2, and you get your answer as 78.07. In fact, I would recommend not rounding it here. Just write out the full answer and then round the final answer. And the final answer then becomes 78.07. So, again, I hope you have pressed pause and had a go at this. So step 1, write out the exchange rate. Step 2, write down what you've been given in the question. So we've been given the pounds and we don't know what this is. So how do we go from here to here? So that's going to be times 44. So times this by 44. And that is 138.6. And that is that one done. Now, if I look at the next one, again, I'm going to write at the exchange rate, £2 is equal to 3.15 euros. This time, we've been given the euros, and we've been asked to find this. So how do I go from here to here? Well, that would be 34 divided by 3.15, and that tells me I'm going to multiply this by 10.79. And on this side, I would do the exact same, multiply that by 10.79, and that gives me an answer of £21.59 if I round that. So, moving on. Here's some practice questions. Press pause and have a go. Here are the answers. Mark your work. So, with these questions, we have an exchange rate like before. We've been given the cost of a car in dollars and the cost of a car in pounds, and we've been asked to find out where the car is cheaper to buy. Now, all we need to do is convert them both to the same units. So here you can pick. Now, it's completely up to you. Either you convert everything to dollars or everything to pounds. I'm going to pick to convert everything to pounds, which means this has already been done for me. I don't need to do anything here, whereas here I need to do a bit of work. So I need to convert that to pounds because I can only compare the prices when they're in the same currency. So what is $5,100 in pounds? So again, the exact same approach. We write down the exchange rate. We have been given the dollar amount. Then I ask myself, well, how do I go from here to here? So I divide 1,500 by 3.7. And that gives me an answer of times 1378.378 ... And I multiply this side by that exact same number. So I do 2.1 times that number, and that gives me an answer of 2894.59 rounded. Okay, now you just have to compare this with this, and you can see immediately the car is cheaper in the UK. And then you can just write a conclusion that says UK is cheaper. So looking at the right, again, the exact same approach. Now you can pick whether you want to work in dollars or pounds. I'm going to pick to work in pounds again. So that one has been done for me. There's nothing to do there. I just need to convert this into pounds. So exact same approach. We have £2.35 is equal to $3.40, which then becomes 3,700 here. And then I ask myself the question, well, how do I go from here to here? Because I'll do the exact same on that side. So that then becomes 3,700, divide that by 3.40. So if I do that quickly, that gives me an answer of 1088.235 ... So I then multiply that by £2.35, and that gives me the price in pounds, which is 2557.35 rounded. Okay, so now if I compare that to that, I can see the bike is cheaper in the UK. So again, the conclusion here would be UK is cheaper. So moving on, this time we've been asked to find the difference in price in euros. So that means here, we don't need to do anything. That's already in euros. Here, that's in pounds. So we need to convert these pounds to euros. And then to find the difference, we just need to subtract the two. So the question here is, what is £160 in euros? So again, exact same approach. £1 is 2.50 euros. So £160, well, to go from here to here, the number gets bigger. So I've multiplied by 160. So I do the exact same thing here. So I do 160 times that by 2.5. That gives me 400 euros. And the question asked for the difference. So that would be 400 take away 99. And 400 take away 99 is just 301 euros. That is your answer there. So again, hopefully you've pressed pause and had a go at this. Again, the question is asking for the answer in euros. So that's been done for me. Here, I need to convert this to euros. So what is £30 in euros? Well, £1 is 2.25. And then £30, well, to go from here to here, I've multiplied that by 30, so I do the exact same thing on here. So I do 30 times 2.25, and that gives me 67.5 euros. And the questions now ask me for the difference, so I would just do 67.5, take away 58, and that gives me 9.50 euros. So here's some practice questions. Press pause and have a go. Here are the answers, mark your work. Now, these are the slightly trickier type of questions, and the reason they're trickier is because you've got two different units that you're working with. So we've got the units of currency, and we've got the units of the volume of petrol. So we've got litres and gallons. And remember, in order for you to make a comparison, if something is cheaper, they have to be the same units. So firstly, the price is either going to be compared in dollars or pounds. You can pick which one you want. And the fuel will either be compared in litres or gallons. Again, you can pick which one you want. Now, in this case, I'm going to pick to work in litres, and I'm going to pick to work in pounds, which then means that this line here for London is done for me, because that says 1 litre of petrol costs £1.09. Now, I need to know what 1 litre of petrol costs in pounds in the US. So I can actually write that line just down here. So we can just say, in order to make the comparison, we know that London, that 1 litre is £1.09. And then in the US, we need to find this out. What is 1 litre is, well, what is that in pounds? We don't know. So that's something we need to work out. So if I look at the US, it says 1 gallon costs $2.85. So the first thing we can write is in the US, that 1 gallon is equal to $2.85. Now, the first thing we can do is we can convert the dollars to pounds. Now, again, I'm just going to zoom in here, so I've got a bit more space to work with. So if I just write that £1 is equal to $1.46, so that means that $2.85. So if I do 2.85 and then I divide that by 1.46, that tells me that to go from here to here, I've multiplied by 1.95 ... So that means in pounds, this is going to be, I can write the exact same thing. I can say, well, actually 1 gallon is £1.95. Now, we've got it in pounds, which is fine, but it's in gallons. Now, how do you convert gallons to litres? We've been told here that 1 gallon is 3.785 litres. So I can write this out again. We can change this bit here. We can almost cross this out and say, well, actually in gallons, this is 3.785 litres is £1.95. We want to know how much 1 litre is, because that's how we're comparing, right? Because we know here 1 litre in London is £1.09. So what is 1 litre in US? So we'll just divide each side by 3.785. So 1 litre is equal to, so if I do 1.95, divide that by 3.785, that then gives me 0.52 rounded. So we know that 1 litre in the US costs 52 pence. Now, there's two bits to this question. Like I said, the first one is to convert the dollars to pounds, so we can then compare pounds and pounds. So we did that here. And then the second step is to use the same unit for the volume of fuel. So when I got to this step here, I was told that 1 gallon is the same as 3.785 litres. So I can just replace 1 gallon with 3.785, and then we have this here, and then we just need to work out what 1 litre is, and we work that out, and now you can see which one's cheaper. So US is cheaper. So I can just write here, US is cheaper. Now, again, hopefully you have pressed pause and had to go at the example on the right. Now, I will zoom in a little bit here, so it's a little bit easier for me to work with, and I've got a bit more space. So let me just move this back over to the left. So again, the way I would have approached this is first you want to decide, do you want to work in litres or gallons, or do you want to work in euros or pounds? In this case, I'm going to work with litres, and I'm going to work with euros. So straight away, this is done for me, which then means here, I need to convert this to euros, and I need to convert this to litres. So I'm going to write Spain, and I'm going to write that 1 litre is 1.50, and then I'm going to write Wales. Now, I don't know this, but I'm just going to write the same thing again. I want to know what 1 litre is, so I'm going to write 1 litre is, we don't know this yet. So we can see that in Wales, so if I just write that here, so it's clear that I'm working out for Wales, you know that 1 gallon is equal to £5.10. Now let's convert £5.10 into euros. So if I use that conversion that I've been given there, €1 is 0.85 in terms of pounds. So I know I have got £5.10. Now how do I convert £5.10 to euros? You just do £5.10, divide that by 0.85. So then you know that to go from here to here, they've multiplied by 6. So to go from here to here, you multiply that by 6. So I can now rewrite this in euros, so that then becomes 1 gallon is equal to €6. So that's that done. Now the next step is the volume. We want to work in litres, and we've been given gallons, but we've been told that 1 gallon is the same as 4.5 litres. So I can just replace this with 4.5 litres. Now we want to know what 1 litre is to make the comparison. So 1 litre is going to be, well, divide each side by 4.5, and that is going to be 1.33. And now, if I compare the two, I can see which one is cheaper. Wales is cheaper. And then you just conclude with a statement that says Wales is cheaper. Now, moving on. So with this one, we've been told in London, 5 litres of petrol costs £10.10. In US, 4 US gallons of petrol costs £49. And then we've been given some unit conversions, which is fine. Again, the first thing we want to decide is whether you want to work in pounds and dollars, or litres or gallons. You pick which one. So in this case, I'm going to pick to work with pounds and litres, which means I don't need to touch this. That's already done for me. And on this line, I need to convert this to pounds, and I need to convert this to litres. Now, another thing worth noting here is you want to work out the answer to the same volume. So here we've been given 5 litres. So either we will have to calculate this as 5 litres, or we can scale this down to 1 litre. And what I mean by that is, so we can just say London, well, if we can just say 1 litre is, well, if 5 litres cost £10 and 10 pence, if we just divide that by 5, we know that 1 litre is £2 and 2. Okay, hopefully that's clear where that came from. So 5 litres is £10, which means that 1 litre must be £2. And then, because we want to use the same number of litres to compare, so you could have used 5 and 5 if you wanted to, but I'm just going to use 1. And then in the US, we are going to say 1 litre is, now we don't know what this is. We need to figure this out. So again, then I'm going to write here, well, actually, the bit I need to calculate is USA. Now for the USA, I've been told that 4 gallons are $49.04, so $49.04. So we've got this here, and now I need to convert these dollars to pounds, so let's do that first. So we know that £1 is 1.38, and this is in dollars. So how do you go from 49.04 to 1.38? Well, you multiply each side by 35.54. So I know that in pounds, rounded, this is £35 and 54 pence. So now I've got that, but again, it's in gallons. Now I want this in litres. So I know that 1 gallon is 38 litres. So I know that 4 gallons will just be 4 times 3.8. So this will be 15.2 litres is equal to 35.54. And now I just need to know what 1 litre is. So I can divide each side by 15.2. So if I do 35.54, divide that by 15.2, and then that becomes 2.34. So that is £2 and 34 pence. And you can see the petrol is cheaper in London. And you would just write a concluding statement down here, where you just say London is cheaper. So again, hopefully you've pressed pause and had a go at the example on the right. So I will zoom in here again, so I have a bit more space to work with. So again, I'll start with the same question as usual. Do you want to work in litres or gallons, or do you want to work in dollars or euros? So in this case, I'm going to work with euros and litres, which means here I don't need to do anything. Whereas here, I need to convert this to euros and I need to convert this to litres. So I'm going to write my usual statement. So in Spain, how much does 1 litre cost? So 1 litre costs, so 18 litres is £27. So if I do 27, divide that by 18, I get 1.5. And then in reals, now I don't know what it is here, but I want to compare it to 1 litre as well. So I'll say 1 litre costs this much in euros. We don't know that. So that's what we need to figure out. So then we say, okay, cool, we have reals. And in reals, we've been told that 8 gallons in pounds is £40.80. Fine. So now we want to convert the pounds to euros. So if I use the conversion we've been given, again, how do you go from there to there? So we have £40.80, divide that by 0.85. You multiply that by 48, and that should say euros. So this becomes 48 euros. So now we want to convert this to litres. So we know that 1 gallon is 4.5 litres. So if I multiply that by 8, we know that 8 gallons is the same as 36 litres. And now I just need to know what 1 litre is. So I divide each side by 36. So we have 48, divide that by 36, and we get 1.33. So our answer up here becomes 1.33. Now, if you compare the two, they're both in litres and they're both in euros. And now you can see reals is cheaper. And then again, as usual, you write your concluding statement that says reals is cheaper. So here's some practice questions. Press pause and have a go. Here are the answers. Mark your work. And finally, we're going to wrap up by looking at exam questions. So feel free to press pause and have a go at this. So I'm just going to go through this quite quickly. So we have been told they want the answer in pounds, which means I don't need to touch this. But here I need to do 14 times 196. Now 14 times 196, I'll just use that, which is in dollars. Now 2744, if I divide that by 1.90, that will tell me what it is in pounds, which is 1444.21 in terms of pounds. And then the exact same thing here. Wi-Fi is used for 5 days. So we know that 12 times 5 is 60, which is $60. And again, 60, divide that by 1.9, and that will give me the price in pounds, which is £31.58. And then if I just add that all together, so that will be 1,500 plus 1444.21 plus £31.58. So if I just quickly type that in, 1,500 plus 144.21 plus 31.58, that gives me 2975.79 in pounds as my final answer. Now, if you would like some more practice on this, I've got a full worksheet over on my website, linked down in the comments below. And if you found this video useful, I've got loads of other content like this on my channel. Do check it out.